I will marry you someday in the future.
Who gave you this?
Who gave you this?
I'm asking because
I have one of this. It's a symbol of a promise I made.
The hallway breathes quietly. Soft lights hum overhead. The smell of bleach, metal, and expensive wood clings to the air. Men in dark suits stand where they are always supposed to stand, spaced just far enough apart to suggest choice while offering none. No one speaks. No one moves. The maid does not look up at first. She is pushing a linen cart, hands steady, posture folded small the way the house has trained her to be. Navy uniform. Braided hair pulled back tight. Her shoes squeak faintly against the floor, the only sound daring to exist. Chairman Kong never stops walking. He is known for this. His stride decides meetings, punishments, futures. People adjust themselves around him the way objects adjust to gravity. But now his foot stays in the air. His gaze is fixed low, sharp, unblinking. Not on her face. Not on the cart. On the thin silver chain resting against the hollow of her throat. A small hand, metal worn smooth at the edges, catching the light with every shallow breath she takes. Something tightens behind his eyes. His jaw locks. The world narrows to that inch of space between her skin and the necklace. The men behind him sense it before they understand it. A shift. A pause that should not exist. One of them inhales too loudly and freezes. The maid feels it then. The air changes. Pressure builds between her shoulder blades, the instinct that has kept her alive this long, whispering that she has been seen when she was meant to remain unseen. She lifts her head. Their eyes meet. For a moment, nothing happens. No recognition. No softness. Just the hard study of someone used to measuring threats. Then his throat works. Her fingers drift, slow and unconscious, brushing the necklace as if to shield it, as if touch alone can justify its place on her body. The metal is warm from her skin. If you have ever watched someone powerful hesitate, you know how dangerous that second feels. How many people get crushed under the weight of pauses like this? How often silence becomes permission? "Where did you get that?" he asks. His voice is quiet. Controlled. The kind of quiet that makes rooms listen. The question lands between them and does not move. She does not answer right away. She thinks of locked doors. Of people who disappear. Of how easily a life like hers can be folded and put away without anyone noticing. Her mouth opens, closes. She swallows. Around them, the hallway holds its breath. The clock somewhere deep in the building ticks once. Then again. Chairman Khan lowers his foot to the floor, slow, deliberate, as if completing a ritual he does not fully remember. "Where," he says again, softer now, closer, "did you get that necklace? Tell me now, please." She keeps her eyes level, not down, not challenging. Somewhere between. That is how you survive in houses like this. The cart's metal frame presses cold into her palms. Linen smells of detergent and starch. The hallway feels longer now, as if it has learned to watch. "I found it," she says, because the truth is sometimes safer when it sounds small. His gaze doesn't move. It pins the necklace in place, as if the charm might try to run. "Where?" he repeats, patient in a way that is not kind. Her name is Amara, but names have weight, and she does not offer it. She shifts her stance a fraction, toes angled toward the service elevator. Escape measured in inches. "A boy gave it to me," she says. "Years ago." One of the men behind him exhales. Another adjusts his cuff. The sound of fabric is loud. Chairman Kong steps closer. Not invading. Claiming space. He smells faintly of clean soap and something sharper beneath it, iron and smoke memory. "What boy?" She touches the chain again, this time deliberately. The metal is thin, cheap. It has survived more than it should have. "He was hungry," she says. Silence follows. Not the heavy silence of threat. A thinner one. Curious. Dangerous. She feels the old discipline rise. "Speak plainly." Don't decorate. Don't beg. She has learned this from kitchens, from back stairwells, from watching who gets to stay and who is sent away. He disappeared, she adds. One day he was there. The next, he wasn't. The hallway seems to lean in. Kang's eyes flick, just once, to her face. Something in his expression fractures and seals itself in the same breath. His hand curls, relaxes. A controlled thing fighting to become something else. Did you follow him? He asks. The question lands wrong. Too precise. Too sharp. No. The word is firm before she plans it. She straightens, spine aligning as if braced by memory. I waited. It comes out quieter. Truer. Waiting is not passive. Waiting is a choice you pay for daily. She has paid it with rooms like this, with uniforms, with being overlooked on purpose. The clock ticks again. Louder now. Kang studies her as if recalculating a map. As if something he thought finished has shifted its borders. You still wear it, he says. Yes. Why? She meets his eyes fully this time. If there is a line, she has already crossed it. Because someone should remember, she says. Because some promises don't end just because one person leaves. Another silence. Longer. One of the guards clears his throat and stops himself. Kang turns his head slightly, listening to something only he can hear. A distant phone vibration. A decision waiting elsewhere in the building. He looks back at her. Leave the cart, he says. Her fingers tighten. Sir. Now. He gestures down a side corridor she has never been allowed to enter. The lights there are dimmer. The carpet thicker. Sound dies quickly. 5 steps. That is all it takes for her life to tilt. Come with me, he says, already turning away. And for the first time since she stepped into this house, she does not disappear. The hallway closes behind them, and every rule she knows begins to break now. They stop in a room that does not look used to waiting. Thick carpet swallows sound. A low table sits untouched. The air smells faintly of cedar and old paper, not bleach. The door closes with a soft click that lands harder than a slam. For the first time since he spoke, they are alone. 5 minutes, he says, not to her, but to the clock mounted high on the wall. It answers with a steady tick. She stays standing. He notices. He removes his jacket slowly and lays it over the back of a chair, movements precise, practiced. Power without hurry. He does not offer her a seat. The silence stretches. Her pulse finds her ears. She counts her breaths. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. Waiting has taught her this. You should not still have that, he says, eyes on the necklace again. Not accusing. Observing. And yet, she replies. Another tick. Another. His fingers tap once against his thigh. He stops them, as if irritated by the betrayal. Tell me what you remember, he says. She studies the grain of the table instead of his face. Memory is a place you can fall into if you aren't careful. He was quiet, she says. Too quiet for a kid. He ate fast. Like the food might be taken back. He flinches. Just barely. A tightening at the corner of his mouth. You said he vanished. Yes. When? I don't know, she answers. Days blur when you're waiting for footsteps that don't come. The tick grows louder. The room seems to shrink around it. He moves to the window and then stops himself. There is no window. The walls are solid. Built to keep things in. He lived, he says. The words fall into the space between them and stay there. She looks up now. Her hand curls around the cart handle that isn't there, a reflex with nowhere to land. You're saying. I'm saying he survived, he says, cutting her off. His voice tightens, then steadies. Not because the world was kind. Because he made a promise he didn't know how to break. Her chest lifts, holds. She does not let hope touch her face. Hope is reckless. To who? She asks. He meets her eyes. For the first time, the authority slips enough to reveal something underneath. Hunger. Old and sharp. Someone who fed him, he says. Silence. The clock ticks through it, counting something neither of them names. You aren't telling me everything, she says. No. The honesty surprises them both. A knock hits the door. Sharp. Controlled. He turns his head slightly. Yes. The door opens a fraction. A man in a dark suit leans in, eyes flicking to her and back. Chairman, he says quietly. We need you. Midnight is approaching. The board is assembled. Kong closes his eyes for half a second. When he opens them, the room feels colder. Give me 1 more minute, he says. The door shuts. Her skin prickles, aware that whatever waits beyond the door will not wait forever tonight or for them all. He looks at her again, and the space between them feels charged now, dangerous with what almost has a name. Stay here, he says. She doesn't move. The clock ticks toward midnight. He straightens as if the room itself has challenged him. Control settles back onto his shoulders, heavy and familiar. He steps away from the table, creating distance with the ease of someone used to shaping space. The clock keeps ticking, louder now, insistently present. You don't know me, he says. It isn't a threat. It's a correction. She watches him move, the way his weight shifts without waste, the way the room seems to organize itself around him. Power like his doesn't announce. It assumes. I know what people call you, she says. His jaw tightens. The air smells sharper suddenly, as if something metallic has been uncovered. That's not knowledge, he replies. She tilts her head, studying him the way she once studied exits and shadows. It's pattern, she says. And pattern tells stories. Silence settles again, thick and deliberate. He waits her out, confident. He has broken stronger people with less. She steps closer instead. Chairman Kong, she says, and his name lands between them like a weight dropped from height. The ghost of the West Corridor. The man who buys buildings without living in them. The one whose deals finish before anyone realizes they started. His eyes flick to the door. To the clock. Back to her. That name should mean nothing to you, he says. It didn't, she answers. Until I started cleaning your house. The words sink slowly. His fingers curl once, then relax. You took this job on purpose, he says. Yes. The admission strips the room bare. She stands there, hands at her sides, pulse visible at her throat. Not defiant. Certain. I needed to see you, she continues. Not what people say. What you look like when you think no one is watching. He laughs once, quietly. There is no humor in it. And what did you see, he asks, that you think you understand? She gestures around them. A man who owns silence. A man who decides which doors stay closed. Her eyes lift to his. A man who leaves nothing soft behind him. The clock ticks. You think survival makes a monster, he says. I think monsters call it survival, she replies. The words hit harder than raised voices ever could. His breath leaves him slowly through his nose. He turns away, just enough to break the moment, then stops. I didn't choose hunger, he says. I didn't choose to run. No, she says. But you chose what came after. Another silence. This one stretches thin, brittle. The countdown presses in from all sides now. Midnight approaching like a closing fist. I took this job because I needed proof, she says quietly. He turns back. Of what? That the boy who survived didn't die, she answers. That he grew up. Her gaze hardens, not unkind, but resolved. And that he became the very thing I learned to hide from. The clock ticks again. He looks at her, really looks, as if seeing the distance between who he was and who stands here now. The room feels smaller. Outside the door, footsteps approach, pause, retreat. Midnight draws closer. And something in his expression fractures, just enough to show the cost of what he has become. He does not answer right away. The clock keeps working. Tick. Tick. The sound presses against his temples. He reaches into the inside pocket of his jacket, the movement slow enough to look casual, careful enough to look practiced. She watches his hand. He pulls out a small object wrapped in dark cloth, the fabric worn thin at the corners. He holds it there for a moment, fingers curled, as if weighing whether to let it exist in the open. "You think I forgot," he says. It isn't an accusation. It's exhaustion. He steps closer to the table and unfolds the cloth. A necklace rests in his palm. Silver, dulled by time. The same hand-shaped charm. The thumb worn smooth in exactly the same place. Her breath leaves her in a sound she doesn't recognize. "No," she whispers, before she can stop herself. He sets it on the table between them. Metal meets wood with a soft click that echoes louder than it should. The two necklaces face each other now, twins separated by years and choices and distance neither of them learned how to measure. "I kept it," he says. "When I had nothing else to keep." She steps closer despite herself. The room smells like cedar and old dust and something human underneath. Regret, maybe. Or memory. "You shouldn't have," she says, but her hand hovers over it, shaking. "I couldn't throw it away," he replies. "Every time I tried, my hands wouldn't open." Silence falls again. Not sharp. Heavy. The kind that sinks into your chest and stays there. She studies the charm. The scratches. The tiny bend at the chain's clasp where it must have been caught on something once and forced free. "You carried this," she says. "Through all of it." "Yes." Her eyes lift to his wrist. She notices then the faint scar just beneath his watch. Old. Pale. "That promise," she says slowly. "It wasn't just words." He shakes his head once. "It was a reason." The clock ticks closer to midnight. Each second feels louder now, more intrusive, as if time itself has decided to take sides. "I didn't survive because I was strong," he says. "I survived because I was hungry, and someone fed me, and then told me I mattered enough to come back for." Her throat tightens. She presses her lips together, refusing the comfort that threatens to rise. "And everything after," she says. "Everything you built." He looks away. The muscles in his jaw flex. "Everything after was to make sure no one could ever take that away from me again," he says. She swallows. The room feels suddenly too small for both of them. "And what did it take?" she asks quietly. He doesn't answer. The silence stretches. The clock keeps counting. Outside the door, movement passes, pauses, moves on. She lifts her necklace from her chest and sets it beside his, the chains tangling slightly. The touch feels intimate, dangerous. "If that promise shaped your life," she says, voice steady now, grounded in something harder than hope, "then tell me." He meets her eyes. "What did it cost everyone else?" The question hangs between them, heavy enough to bend the air. He doesn't answer it directly. Instead, he reaches for the clock. Not touching it. Just acknowledging it. His eyes flick upward, then back to her, as if the thing on the wall has become a third presence in the room. "Midnight," he says. "That's what it cost." She waits. Her shoulders stay squared, but her hands have curled into fists at her sides. Nails press into skin. She does not look away. At midnight, he continues, the board votes. Not on money. Not on territory. A pause. Measured. On permanence. The clock ticks. The sound has sharpened, each second cutting clean. "If they vote yes," he says, "everything becomes official. Locked. No more shadows. No more half measures. Violence stops being a tool and becomes policy." Her stomach tightens. She shifts her weight back a step, as if the floor itself has tilted. "And if they vote no," she asks. He exhales through his nose. A controlled release. Then the structure collapses. Deals unravel. Alliances fracture. People who have grown comfortable with blood decide they don't like change. She hears what he doesn't say. Retaliation. Chaos. Death that won't stay contained. So that's the choice, she says. Freeze the monster in place. Or let it tear itself apart. His jaw flexes. You make it sound simple. It's not, she replies. That's why it matters. Silence falls again. A deeper one. The kind that settles into bones. He steps closer to the table, resting one hand beside the two necklaces. His fingers stop just short of touching either of them. Every promise has collateral, he says. I learned that early. People who stood between me and survival didn't get to stand long. Her breath catches, but she keeps her voice steady. You're talking about people like me. He looks up sharply. No, he says. I'm talking about people who never had a chance to wait. The clock ticks. Midnight inches closer, dragging consequences behind it. You think this vote is about me, he says. About power. About legacy. He shakes his head once. It's about whether the damage becomes permanent. And you, she says. Where are you in that math? He doesn't answer right away. His eyes drift to the door, to the hallway beyond it, to the building that has carried his name and his fear for years. I can stop it, he says finally. Not cleanly. Not without cost. But I can. Her heart pounds. Not with hope. With dread. And then what, she asks. Then everything I built becomes unstable, he says. People get hurt. Maybe killed. I lose control. She nods slowly. That's the price. Yes. Another silence. Longer this time. The room feels smaller, tighter, like it's bracing for impact. She steps forward until she is close enough to see the faint lines at the corners of his eyes. Lines carved by years of vigilance, not laughter. Listen to me, she says. Really listen. He does. If you do this, she continues, don't do it thinking it buys you anything from me. His brow furrows slightly. I won't forgive you, she says. The words are quiet, but they land hard. Not for what you've done. Not for what you'll undo. Even if you choose differently now. The clock ticks. 1 second closer. Another. If you stop this, she goes on, voice steady, unyielding, do it because it's right. Not because you think it makes you worthy of me. He stares at her, something raw opening behind his eyes. And if I don't, he asks. She doesn't hesitate. Then you prove I was right to hide. The clock ticks toward midnight. And the choice presses in, sharp and unforgiving, with no promise of absolution waiting on either side. The room goes still in a way that feels deliberate, as if the walls themselves are listening. The clock keeps ticking, but it no longer sounds sharp. It sounds tired. The air smells warmer now, cedar and fabric and something faintly human, like breath held too long. She does not move toward the door. She does not move toward him. She stands where she is, shoulders lowering inch by inch, as if she has finally stopped bracing for a blow that hasn't come. I didn't survive by being brave, she says. Her voice is quieter than before. Not weaker. Just stripped. He watches her carefully. His hands rest flat on the table, fingers spread, empty. I survived by being small, she continues. By learning when to disappear. By cleaning rooms where people like you decided what mattered. The clock ticks. 1 minute closer. I changed my name, she says. I learned not to look too long at anyone who could hurt me. I learned that being overlooked is a kind of armor. Her fingers trace the edge of the table, following the grain of the wood. The motion steadies her. I waited, she adds. Not because I believed you'd come back. A pause. Because waiting was safer than hoping. Something shifts in his face. Not guilt. Recognition. You built yourself into something untouchable, she says, finally looking at him again. I did the opposite. Silence stretches between them, thick but not hostile. The clock ticks. Outside the door, a phone vibrates once and goes quiet. You think I chose power, he says. I think you chose never to be helpless again, she replies. The distinction lands. He nods once, slow. That promise, he says. It kept me alive. And it nearly erased you, she answers. They stand there, two paths that began in the same place and curved away from each other so sharply they barely recognize the origin. The clock ticks again. He straightens, decision settling into him like a weight he has finally accepted. He steps back, creating space where before there was none. His hand moves toward the door. You don't belong here, he says. The words are not dismissal. They are release. There's a service stairwell at the end of the hall, he continues. No cameras. A car waiting downstairs that doesn't ask questions. She watches him, heart beating slow and heavy now, as if it has learned something it can't unlearn. You'd let me go, she says. Yes. And after midnight? He doesn't answer that. He doesn't have to. She looks at the door. At the hallway beyond it. At the life she knows how to survive. The clock ticks. 30 seconds. He steps aside fully, clearing the path. The power imbalance cracks, just enough to show the cost underneath. You can leave, he says. Right now. She draws a breath. Lets it out. And the space between them fills with the weight of what she will choose next, as midnight waits just beyond the door. The second hand reaches the top of the clock and hesitates, as if time itself is deciding whether to interfere. Neither of them moves. The door stands open behind her. The hallway beyond it is dimmer, quieter, leading away from this room and everything in it. A thin draft slips in, carrying the faint smell of polish and something colder underneath, night waiting outside the building. She looks once more at the table. The two necklaces lie there, chains tangled, charms touching. Twins reunited too late to recognize each other without pain. Her fingers lift to her throat. The motion is slow, deliberate. Not rushed. Not dramatic. Just precise. Kong watches her hand. His breath shallows. He does not speak. She slides the chain over her head. The metal whispers softly against her skin, a sound so small it feels private. The necklace rests in her palm now, warm, familiar, heavier than it should be. This was never meant to save you, she says. Her voice is steady. Grounded. It fills the room without effort. It saved me, he replies. She nods. Once. She steps forward and places the necklace on the table, beside the other. She does not push it toward him. She does not pull his closer. She simply lets it rest where it lands. You don't get to turn me into proof, she says. Or absolution. His jaw tightens. I'm not asking you to. Yes, she says softly. You are. Silence stretches. The clock ticks again. 10 seconds. You want this to mean you're done, she continues. That if you choose differently now, it rewrites what came before. He takes a step toward her, then stops himself. His hands curl at his sides, empty. I never said it would rewrite anything, he says. No, she agrees. But you hoped it might. The words land. They stay. She straightens her shoulders, the posture of someone who has made a decision she will have to live with alone. I'm not the reason you change, she says. If you do. He closes his eyes for a brief moment. When he opens them, something hard and bright has settled behind them. Acceptance, maybe. Or grief. What are you, then, he asks. She meets his gaze fully. No fear now. No hiding. I'm the reminder, she says. Not the reward. The clock ticks. 5 seconds. A low chime echoes through the building. Distant. Final. Midnight. The sound rolls through the room, through the walls, through the space between them. Somewhere far away, phones vibrate. Doors open. Decisions lock into place. She turns toward the door. Wait, he says. She pauses, but does not turn back. If I stop it, he says. If I burn it down. Her hand rests on the doorframe. She feels the cool wood beneath her fingers. Solid. Real. Do it, she says. Or don't. But don't do it for me. She steps into the hallway. The light there is softer. Less controlled. The air feels different, looser, as if it belongs to people who leave. Behind her, the room holds its breath. She walks away without looking back. The clock continues ticking, indifferent now, counting the seconds after midnight as Khan stands alone with 2 necklaces on the table and the full weight of what he has just lost, and what he may still destroy, settling into his chest. The door closes behind her without a sound. Khan remains where he is, hands resting on the table, eyes fixed on the place she stood a moment ago. The room feels emptied out, not quiet but hollowed, like something vital has been removed and the space hasn't learned how to hold itself yet. The clock keeps ticking. After midnight now. Each second lands differently, heavier, irreversible. He straightens his cuffs. The motion is automatic. Muscle memory from years of decisions that did not wait for reflection. His reflection stares back at him from the darkened glass of a cabinet door, controlled, composed, untouched by what just happened. He almost believes it. Then his gaze drops to the table. 2 necklaces. Side by side. Proof of before. Proof of after. He exhales slowly and reaches for the phone in his pocket. The screen lights up immediately. Messages stacked. Missed calls. Names that have never learned patience. He scrolls past them, unhurried, until he finds the one he needs. Bring them in, he says when the line connects. His voice is calm. Final. Now. He ends the call before the response comes. Moments later, the door opens. 2 men enter, measured and alert, eyes flicking instinctively to the table, to the necklaces, then back to him. They feel it too. The shift. The aftershock. We're past the vote, one of them says carefully. I know, Khan replies. They're waiting for confirmation. Khan turns toward the windowless wall. The building hums faintly, alive with systems designed to support what he built. He imagines the structure from above, floors stacked like layers of skin, each hiding something beneath it. Cancel it, he says. The words drop cleanly into the room. Silence follows. Not disbelief. Calculation. All of it? The man asks. Yes. The man nods once, sharp and professional, but something tightens around his mouth. There will be consequences. Khan looks back at him. There always were. The other man shifts his weight. You understand what this does? Yes. People won't accept it. No. They'll come for you. Kang's eyes flick, briefly, to the necklaces again. He reaches out and closes his hand around one of them. The metal bites into his palm, grounding him. Let them, he says. The men exchange a look. This is not the Khan they know. This is not the Khan who built power by never giving ground. But they move anyway, because fear still works, even when respect fractures. They leave. The door closes. Khan stands alone. The building seems to sigh, as if releasing something it has been holding for years. He feels it ripple outward, calls being made, orders rescinded, alliances wobbling. The machine he built begins, slowly, to turn against itself. His phone vibrates again. He ignores it. Minutes pass. Or seconds. Time feels loose now, unmoored from urgency. Another vibration. This one he answers. Yes. A different voice this time. Lower. Familiar in the way danger always is. You've made enemies, the voice says. More than before. I'm aware. This won't be a single payment, the voice continues. They'll take pieces. Slowly. Anyone connected to you. Khan closes his eyes briefly. I expected that, he says. A pause on the line. Including the woman. His eyes open. Touch her, Khan says, voice flat, and you won't get the chance to collect anything. A low chuckle answers him. You think you can protect everything you've already let go of? The line goes dead. Kong lowers the phone. His hand trembles once, then stills. He looks at the remaining necklace in his palm. Then at the empty space where the other once lay. Loss settles in, deep and steady, no longer sharp enough to resist. Outside, somewhere beyond the walls, the city continues. People move. Choices ripple. Kong places the necklace back on the table. The cost has begun to arrive. And he knows, with a clarity that does not flinch, that it will not come all at once. Morning arrives without ceremony. The city outside the building is washed thin by pale light, edges softened, as if the night has passed a hand over everything sharp. Kong stands by the long table, jacket back on, sleeves smooth, posture composed in the way his body remembers even when his mind resists. The room smells faintly of cold coffee and cedar. Familiar. Changed. One necklace remains. The other rests in his pocket, its weight small but insistent, a reminder that absence can be carried as easily as presence. He does not touch it. He lets it be where it is. The building hums differently now. Phones ring and stop ringing. Elevators whisper. Somewhere far below, doors open that will not close the same way again. He feels the structure adjusting, testing itself, learning the shape of loss. He walks down the private corridor alone. The service stairwell door stands ajar at the end, just as he said it would be. No guards. No cameras. A choice left intact. He pauses there, hand resting against the cool metal, and listens. Footsteps echo faintly below, moving away, steady and unhurried. She is already gone. The knowledge settles without panic. Without regret sharp enough to cut. This is not a wound that needs closing. It is a line drawn and accepted. Kong turns back. Hours pass. Or minutes. Time stretches and loosens, no longer bound to deadlines he can command. He sits in the quiet of an office stripped of ornament, the city's breath distant through concrete walls. Papers lie untouched. Screens glow and dim. He does not look at them. Instead, he takes the necklace from his pocket. The charm rests in his palm, silver dulled, edges worn smooth by a thumb that once traced it during nights that did not promise mornings. He remembers the hunger. Not the ache in his stomach, but the emptiness that followed him long after food became abundant. He places the necklace beside the other. Not to reunite them. To acknowledge them. They are not a story now. They are a marker. The phone vibrates again. He answers without looking. Yes, he says. The voice on the other end is strained, cautious. News delivered in fragments. Contracts collapsing. Partners withdrawing. A warning issued and retracted and issued again. Names spoken softly, as if volume might determine loyalty. Kong listens. He does not interrupt. When the voice finishes, there is a pause. Expectation hangs in the silence. Proceed, Kong says. His voice is even. Do it cleanly. The call ends. He stands and moves to the windowless wall where nothing is reflected back at him. His reflection lives elsewhere now, in choices that will echo longer than reputation ever did. By midday, the building feels lighter, as if something dense has been removed from its core. By evening, word will spread. By night, consequences will arrive wearing familiar faces. He does not rush to meet them. Instead, he leaves the office and walks the long corridors without escort. People step aside out of habit, then hesitate, uncertain. He passes through them like a man moving through a former life. Outside, the city smells of rain and heat and something alive. Traffic murmurs. Pedestrians brush past without recognition. He blends easily. For the first time, invisibility does not feel like hunger. He stops at a small park wedged between buildings, a place he has passed 100 times without seeing. A chain-link fence borders one side, rusted in places, clean in others where hands have gripped it and let go. A child sits on the far side of it, legs crossed, watching pigeons scatter crumbs. The child looks up when Kong stops, eyes curious, unafraid. They regard each other in silence. Kong reaches into his pocket. Not for money. Not for a phone. He touches the empty space where a necklace once lay. He does nothing else. After a moment, the child looks away, attention claimed by the birds again. Life continues, indifferent and intact. Kang steps back, the city breathing around him, the future unshaped but undeniably present. He walks on, carrying what remains, not a promise of return, not a debt owed to the past, but a quiet understanding that what endures is not who you save, but what you refuse to become.